Hi again. This is Love Yourself Healthy with Dr. Patricia Lopez. I just wanted to say thank you so much for subscribing to my page here on YouTube, for just being very supportive and sending me information about how I can improve on the recordings here for my channel and so forth, and all of the support and love that I have received from all of you that have subscribed. I hope that I continue to deliver good content for you that is both educational, inspirational, and informative, and that you will share this with others as we go along. This is my second video recording, and I am going to focus on certain books that the empath can start reading in order to better identify with oneself. And that is basically the practice that I have taken upon my own journey as understanding and confronting yet again later on in life that I am a highly sensitive person and that I am an empath. And I should, pretty much pay attention to it and see what is an empath. What does that mean? How does that make me different from others? What should I know as being considered this person, as far as my temperaments, my way of being, my behaviors, my moods, my emotions, how to protect myself, how to create healthy relationships with others, including myself first and foremost, my family, my friends, my coworkers, my supervisors, my acquaintances. And in order to gain all of that information, I really had to go to town when it comes to understanding about what is an empath. So what I will suggest for you to do is to read some really good books about the subject. And I have some suggestions here that are books that I delved into in my own journey when learning about being an empath. So the first book that I'm going to highly suggest for you to read is this one, The Empath Survival Guide by Dr. Orloff, Judith Orloff. If you guys saw my video before, the first one, in the notes section, I added a assessment that you could have done in order to understand if you are an empath or not. That assessment was created by Dr. Orloff, and she is basically a medical doctor, highly reputable and recognized in the area of being an empath. And she has several books out there that are very, very, very good resources for the empath. This being one of them, and the first one I would start with, okay? Because it covers every topic you can imagine in regards to being an empath. The second book that I would encourage for you to get, written by Dr. Orloff, is this one, which I don't have a hard copy of, but I have it on Kindle, and it's a digital version, and it's called Emotional Freedom. Liberate Yourself from Negative Emotions and Transform Your Life by Dr. Judith Orloff. Very, very, very good book to start reading. Okay, I'm sorry you can't really see what it looks like, but it is called Emotional Freedom, okay, by Dr. Orloff. The next book that I think would be a great book to kind of continue what you've already pretty much gathered about being an empath, if you start with this book first, kind of starting to apply your experiences, your way of being into the knowledge of the material that's out there, is the Happy Empaths Workbook. This is a workbook where you will read about being an empath, but will also have areas where you can start writing in your responses based on the questions, the topics, and the subtopics that it covers. So here it's going to talk about different types of empaths, the physical empath, the intuitive empath, and so forth. It has questions and areas that are left blank for you to write in your thoughts and so forth in order to help that processing in your mind taking place. And it also has a survey. Are you an empath? And it has its own survey as well. It is very light book, not short, not a long book at all, very short, but extremely informative and applicable. So you can do some hands-on work with integrating not what you're learning about being an empath, but also based on your experience and just honestly working those things out in your mind and putting them into practice as you write them out. Excellent way of learning, right? We take in information, we think about it, we meditate on it, and we journal on it, right? So it's a process, and it's a beautiful way of learning and adapting to new information and implementing it in our lives. Next book, Empath, by Marianne, Gracie, a comprehensive guide for emotional healing, self-protection, and survival for empaths and highly sensitive people. So this was a very good book. I think this is the first one I actually got. But as I continue to, look for new books to read, when I found this one, this was it. This was the pinnacle of all books for me to read about being an empath. But this book is still very good. And it's good to get some books on this topic from other different authors, right? You don't want always the same author, though she's the guru, okay? You do want to get other authors' perspective, okay? With that said, I'm going to go on to the next one. I Don't Want to Be an Empath Anymore is the name of this book. How to Reclaim Your Power Over Emotional Overload, Maintain Boundaries, and Live Your Best Life. This is by Orloff. Orloff proclaims herself as a witch. As a Christian, this would not be a book that I would normally go and get, right? And basically what I have come to understand and I can accept is that as an empath, we are given beautiful spiritual gifts. And based on our own individual journey, right, we decide as to how to go about and putting that forth in reality as a gift to give unto others. And there's many different empaths with different gifts, and they take different journeys, different walks, different paths, okay? And so Orloff decided to take this walk for herself, and she calls herself a spiritual witch, but we have to be careful with having that, mentality that I don't care to take on anymore that isn't in my past, about judging other people based on themselves, calling themselves basically a witch, right? This is a book that she has authored as her experience of being an empath, and I was curious enough to know about what she had to say about the matter and what her experiences have been and what are her suggestions and advice and her contribution to the field of being an empath and so forth. And so with that mindset in place, I went forward and I purchased the book and I read it. And I did appreciate what I read in her book. And the reason why I am suggesting for the empath to take this book and read it. And hopefully you will be open to it as a Christian to do so. Last book, Empaths on Their Soul Path by Corri, Milner, a guide to empath empowerment in your awakening. So it is an awakening. It is a process of being awakened. I was awakened. And like I stated in my first video, in my early 20s, I was curious about knowing what a highly sensitive person was all about. And I did delve into knowing a little bit more about that at the time, but I did put it to the side and I didn't care for it anymore. And event after event and things that just happened to happen in my life pretty much brought me back to square one to be face to face and confronted with the fact that I am an empath and I need to understand what is all of that about, and so forth. A book such as Empaths on Their Soul Path, or anything along the lines of that, I think is a very, very important book to look into. But I would say start with this and follow up with this. That would be my recommendation. There are other books out there that I have on digital version that I may share with you guys in the near future. I don't want to overwhelm you with tons of books to read. I would just say if you start with this one, okay, you've got some really good material to get through, all right? So I will put below the names of these books and the authors, and yeah, that's it. No more to say. Hopefully this wasn't a very long video. I welcome your comments and your questions, and I look forward to hearing more about your experience, learning about being an empath, and also, you know, reach out. Reach out if you're in need of talking about anything. I will also create a new Gmail account, and I will put that below as well, where you can send me an email of any of your thoughts, your questions, your comments, your concerns, etc. And I will keep that strictly confidential and you know, separate from my personal email address inboxes, as well as my work related ones. I'm going to make up a Gmail specifically just for this YouTube channel. Thanks again for listening. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Monday, and love yourself healthy. Take care.